Folks, we're now joined by Jim McGreevey. You know him. He's the former governor of the great state of New Jersey, chairman of the New Jersey Reentry Corporation, and Will Sheehan, who's a veteran and advocate of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. Good to see you, gentlemen.
Good to be with you. Thank you, Steve.
Hey, Jim, before we go to Will, real quick, set this up. New Jersey prisoner reentry. Your corporation involved with veterans because what's the problem with discharges, Jim? Why is New Jersey Reentry Corporation caring about discharges of veterans? And what the heck does that have to do with reentry?
The great question is, the first data point is that 8% of the people in state prisons are veterans, disproportionately combat veterans. Second point is that in terms of discharge, there's honorable discharge, general discharge, other than honorable, bad conduct, and dishonorable. And the problem is the guys and the gals right in the center, other than honorable, it's administrative discharge. And when people are found to be, whether it's smoking a joint, whether it's AWOL for a night or 2 nights, what happens is they're discharged from the military service. And the reality, Steve, is the Veterans Affairs links services, the array of veteran services, to the discharge classification. So somebody's getting out and they're other than honorable, no addiction, no mental health, and the full array of services. A lot of these veterans, combat trauma, brain injury, military sexual trauma, they've been beaten up, Afghanistan, Iraq, and all we're trying to do is, and we will do, is provide them psychiatric and addiction treatment.
Well, as the governor says, this is a bad situation. And how many veterans are we talking about here? Do we have any
in New Jersey? In New Jersey, we're talking about 1,000. But the point of information to keep in your mind's eye, Steve, is veterans, highest cohort of suicide, highest cohort of mental illness, highest cohort of homelessness. We've got to be doing a lot more for our veterans nationwide.
Hey, Will, you may have noticed when Jim McGreevey is on, it's hard to get a word in. I just want you to know that. We've known each other for 20 plus years. That's the way it's been. The same thing with me. That's why we're together. Nobody gets a word in. Will, get a word in here. Tell us, in addition to what Jim said, what exactly do we need to do?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the Irish gift of gab there, Steve. So,
wait a minute, I'm Italian. What's my excuse? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Coming up on Memorial Day will be 273 days since we've had the last boots on the ground in Afghanistan. And we've shifted over from being on the offense to the defense. And what I mean by defense is there's no more casualties on the battlefields of Afghanistan or Iraq. The casualties are going to be on the battlefields of America, with my generation suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress, military sexual trauma, and TBI, which is traumatic brain injury. The great thing about what the governor is doing here, and the great thing about what the state will be doing here soon, is that they are giving triage and benefits to these folks who went to far off places to go fight the world's evil and now have come back and need the benefits and services that they've earned.
Hey, Jim, is this a legislative issue?
Well, it could be. So what happens is Congress, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you should give a darn about these guys and make sure that their health care is clinically driven. And I get it. Whether the Marine Corps, the Army, or the Air Force wants a discharge based on what somebody does it in terms of field command, I get that. But with all due respect, for a minimal violation, the VA, they shouldn't be, all of their benefits shouldn't go down the drain. And so what we're doing this with Hackensack, Meridian, we're doing this with University of Pennsylvania and Princeton and Discovery Institute. We're getting them into a psych center. We're stabilizing them. 30 days of psychiatric residential treatment, 30 days of addiction treatment, a total package of 70 days. Stephen, if they didn't have this, they would have nothing. And so these guys are coming back and their stories are brutal. One, the young man, he's a medic. He's picking up body parts. He literally, Steve, smoked 1 joint. Not that I'm endorsing it, but the point was the Marines found THC in his urine. He gets an OTH discharge and he gets no benefits.
OTH is other than honorable.
Yes.
But Will, hold on 1 second. As I listen to the governor, Jim, there's my question. Jim is saying the military has to do what the military does, but if the military leadership knows that that discharge status adversely affects ability of a veteran who's given so much to our country, then why wouldn't they just change the discharge policies?
So what the governor,
Hold on, Jim, I'm going to get Will on this. Go ahead, Will.
Right, Will.
so what the governor is really providing is he's providing something of being at the forefront, but he's also providing bridge benefits. As an overall, the military has become more empathetic. They recognize that the instrumentality of war is taken out on the youth. I will tell you, as someone who has led folks into war, it's the youth. It's the 18, 19-year-old guys who are knocking down doors and not knowing who's behind them. And that impacts them. And we as a society has become more empathetic to that. But what the governor is providing are these bridge benefits. So you can upgrade your discharge. It's the government, it's bureaucracy. It just takes a really long time.
It takes 18 months, 2 years. You could be dead by then.
And sometimes longer. And the success rate is very small. And then also, you have to have an advocate. Some of these guys, they don't want to get lawyers. They don't know where to get advocates.
And they don't also want to fight the military, right, Jim?
Yes. I mean, that's the problem. The problem is, Steve, is you got the VA and they do
Veterans
great work.
Administration. Go ahead.
And then thank you. And then you got the Department of Defense, which is the respective branches of service. And the reality is that the VA benefits are tied or linked to discharge. And what I would respectfully, whether you're Republican or Democrat, the VA benefits should be clinically driven based on what the guy or gal needs in terms of mental health and addiction and mental services. And the irony is the people who need it least, God willing, it's the people who need it most aren't getting, and that's what we're doing with New Jersey Reentry.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Will. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks,
So much work to be done. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, PNC, Grow Up Great, Choose New Jersey, Kane University, New Jersey Sharing Network, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates, Inc., and by the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ, and by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network.
New Jersey's early educators and childcare providers are more than twice as likely to live below the poverty line versus the general workforce. Reimagine Childcare, formed by a coalition in New Jersey, is dedicated to improving accessibility, affordability, and quality of childcare and reimagining the way we support these essential providers. Learn more by visiting reimaginechildcare.org.